I remember going through a trial, and I remember the day very clearly. It was March 11th. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon. The trial had hit me pretty devastating. It had knocked me to my knees, and I remember just laying on the floor, mostly in the fetal position, just crying. Didn't know what to do. I remember calling my mother that night, and she told me that I needed to get God in my life, that I was missing that, and I thought about her words. And at the time, I had grew up a member of the church. I had fell away. It's been about 22, 25 years I hadn't been in the church. So I felt at the time that I was like, I'm probably not worthy to attend church, and so I reached out to a couple other churches to see if by chance I could just maybe go to church with them. And I remember that they put me on hold for a long time. They rescheduled appointments for me to meet with them. It was just really hard. A couple days later, I remember calling my mother and just telling my mother how hard it was, and she told me of a foundation that was built for me. And she told me that I knew what to do. She didn't tell me what to do. She told me that I knew what to do. And I thought about her words, and I remember just first Googling LDS church. Was there an LDS church near me? And I found one. It was in the same town I was at. And I remember driving by, and I thought to myself, if someone's there, I'll stop. And no one was ever there. And I remember going a couple days in a row, and no one was just ever there at that little branch. And so that afternoon, I was at work, and I had to run out to West Texas. And I remember driving down the road, and I just remember, like, kind of just driving down the road and praying, like, what to do. And I felt this strong impression just to pull over on the side of the road and call some missionaries to come visit me. So I pulled over on the side of the road, and I Googled this 1-800-missionaries or something. I don't even know what it was. And I remember 2 sister missionaries picking up the phone, and they were so excited. And I can remember the joy and happiness in their voices. And so they were just like so excited. I told them who I was, and they said, "Oh, we're so excited, Brother Dalton, that you're ready to come back." And I had not even made a commitment to come back, but they were so excited. And they had my phone number, and they had my address, and they told me that within 24 hours, 2 elder missionaries would be at my house. And I remember how excited I was that there was help coming, that I knew, I've always known that the church is true, even though I chose not to live the gospel. I've always felt like a desire and a pull towards it. And so I was so grateful that the missionaries were on their way. And I remember like just pacing and waiting for them to show up. And like they would never get out of their truck. But later they told me they were in there praying and asking the Spirit to be with them. But I just remember how anxious I was. And when they pulled up to the door, I just swung the door open. And that night, I'm sure that I just complained about my situation, and I told the missionaries all about all my problems. And I think about it now, and I'm just like, they were like so wonderful. At the end of that night, a missionary had asked me to say a prayer. And I remember not knowing how to pray. It's been like 25 years since I prayed in front of anyone. I'd said many silent prayers, but never in front of anyone, and I was kind of scared what to do. And so I said a prayer, and as the 2 missionaries left the door, their names were Elder Hansen and Elder Strand. And I remember Elder Hansen and the light, that glow and this smile that he had about him. And I remember knowing that I wanted that. And then Elder Strand, he was this tall, skinny missionary, and he stopped at the door as they left, and he said, "Brother Dalton, I feel like I'm supposed to give you a comfort blessing." And I knew exactly what he did. I did not feel worthy at the time to receive one. And I remember these 2 missionaries laying their hands on my head and giving me a comfort blessing. And they helped me to get in contact with a branch president and invited me to church that Sunday. And it was kind of like that night was, and that priesthood blessing was the start of my conversion.